Tonight, we're talking about the top 7 strategies for you to implement so that you can have a healthy start to 2020. And these are detoxification strategies. So we're talking about detox here. And again, and this is, a big part of detox is necessary for a lot of people after the holidays. There's a lot of reasons why. Some of you may have eaten, pristinely through the holidays, kept your gluten and grain-free diet, kept your diet processed food free, but maybe like myself, just overindulged, ate too much, or ate a lot of food. And so sometimes in that process of overeating, we end up needing to compensate for that. And there's a measure behind this. The feast or famine, which you've probably heard that saying before, actually comes a large part from human evolution. As we evolved, we had opportunities to eat massive quantities of food, and then we'd have periods of famine. And so our bodies, in a large part, evolved with that methodology. So during the holiday time, again, if you overeat, now it's time to implement detoxification strategy number 1. And it's actually 2 parts, but I'm going to label it in such a way. So part 1 of strategy number 1 is called a flush. And what we're really trying to accomplish with a flush is, so again, there's going to be 2 types of you listening tonight. Maybe some of you listening tonight are tuning in for the first time. You're just trying to find your way, your road back to health. And this message, this news, this information is new to you. And many of you are veterans tuning in tonight. You've already followed the no grain, no pain lifestyle, and you know exactly what I'm talking about. So I'm talking to both of you tonight. So if you were the type that ate well but overate, the flush is important. If you were the type that ate a lot of food that wasn't good for you, ate a lot of processed foods, a lot of sugars, a lot more than what you should, and you overate, this is even more important for you to pay attention to and listen in on. So the flush itself is designed, in a sense, to give you a reset. A lot of times what happens, especially in females, more in females than in males, is we get a constipation effect after overeating and after eating a lot of processed food. So the bowels just kind of slow down and go on lockdown. And one of the reasons why is during the holiday season, the combination of stress and overeating shuts down the bowels, activates the sympathetic nervous system, and just shuts down the bowels. So we get this kind of constipation of all this food is in us. It's not moving through us effectively. It's just kind of stagnant, sitting there in our GI tracts, creating basically creating a putrefication effect. So the food is sitting in us, and in essence, it's rotting. It's rotting inside of us, and it's not going anywhere because we're constipated. So the flush helps to reset those of you who have that particular problem. So the flush is really important if you struggle with the constipation side of things. So if your bowels are not moving, the flush is really the best way to start step 1 of these 7 strategies. So what is a flush? We're talking about using vitamin C. Why vitamin C? Because vitamin C has anti-inflammatory properties. Vitamin C has detoxification properties. Vitamin C helps to boost glutathione. Vitamin C helps to heal the gut when it's inflamed. There are a lot of different components and a lot of benefits to vitamin C, which is why I like to use it for a flush. One of the other impacts, though, is that vitamin C works when we get the doses high enough in the GI tract. It works as an osmotic. So what it does is it pulls water into the bowel. So if you're constipated, it's going to pull water into the bowel, and it's going to help flush the bowels out and alleviate yourself of a number of different toxic compounds that you may have been eating. So let's talk about what a vitamin C flush might look like. So to do a vitamin C flush right, first thing you need to understand about vitamin C is most forms are made from GMO corn. So we don't want GMO corn-based vitamin C when we're trying to do a flush. We don't want to put poison in to get health out, right? So we've got to be particular about the vitamin C that we use. I have a particular brand that I like to use called Detox C, which is actually from an organic African wild potato. And it is not GMO, and it has 0 corn in it. And it's not the kind of potato that would be classified as a nightshade, so it's safe for those of you who are trying to follow an autoimmune type of protocol. But the best way to do this is not with pills, it's to use a powder. So it's a vitamin C powder. Powder dissolves easier. You can take it in much higher doses to generate a flushing effect. So think of it like this. I'll give you kind of two strategies with this. Strategy number one is if you're in reasonably good health, then you would start with 1 teaspoon of vitamin C powder mixed in about 3 ounces of water. And you do that every 15 minutes. Now, you're going to do this flush first thing in the morning, and you want to make sure that your stomach is empty and that you haven't eaten. In essence, you're in a fasted state. You haven't eaten for, at least the length of time from the night before. Because if you eat a big breakfast and then attempt to flush, what you're going to do is you just irritate your bowel lining. You're just going to irritate all that food that you just ate is just going to come out of you undigested and irritate your gastrointestinal lining. So you want to make sure, again, before you start a flush, that it's first thing in the morning on an empty stomach and that you don't have any plans. So no plans, because you're going to be on the toilet for a little while. That's what the flush is we're flushing out your bowel. And so if you start a flush and you've got bosses and coworkers and everything else, it's not a good recipe. We want to make sure you can stay at home to do this. So no plans, first thing in the morning on an empty stomach. You take 1 teaspoon of vitamin C mixed in 3 ounces of water every 15 minutes. Now, if you're in bad health, if you're in a bad way and and you've got, multiple, if you've been to multiple doctors and you've got multiple autoimmune diagnoses and you're feeling really, really terrible, you can start this, instead of using 1 teaspoon of vitamin C in 3 ounces of water every 15 minutes, you can double that. You can take 2 teaspoons. Now, what is this equivalent to? This is 1 teaspoon of pure ascorbate powder is worth about 3 grams of vitamin C, whereas 2 teaspoons is double it, right? It's 6 grams of vitamin C. So kind of doing your math there, depending on what vitamin C you use, these are kind of quantitative dosing strategies that can be used. So again, 1 teaspoon or 2 teaspoons. Now, a caveat, if you've got an ulcer, this is a bad idea. Don't do this if you've got an ulcer. If you've got an ulcer in your stomach or an ulcer in your intestine, you don't want to attempt to flush, because the vitamin C, the mixing in the vitamin C on top of an ulcer can create irritation of an ulcer, and it can really make it very uncomfortable. Another strategy kind of before you get into this is if you have severe hemorrhoids. If you have severe hemorrhoids, a vitamin C flush might irritate those hemorrhoids, make them get larger, and make them more irritative. So if you've got hemorrhoids, or if you've got a major problem with an ulcer, this is probably not the best strategy for you. I'll talk about it. Hang with me if you do have those problems, because I'm going to talk about other strategies that you can do that are safe for you. But if you've got those issues, vitamin C flush is not recommended. Now, so again, if you're in general good health, 1 teaspoon vitamin C powder mixed in 3 ounces of water every 15 minutes. You do this for 4 doses. So you get 4 doses in. And if you're at 4 doses and your stomach hasn't started to rumble and gurgle, at that point, you're 4 doses in, you double it to 2 teaspoons. And you keep going every 15 minutes. Then what will happen is you'll get to a point where your bowels will start to flush. Basically, you'll run to the toilet and you'll have diarrhea. And that's at that point, you stop taking any more vitamin C and let your bowels run their course. They're going to flush out, and it's probably going to take you a couple hours to really get this thing complete. For most people, a flush from start to finish takes less than 4 hours. But my recommendation is always plan on the side of that being longer, because you don't want to have, let's say you wake up at 8 a.m. and you got an appointment at 1 p.m. You don't want to be like pushing it. You know what I'm saying? So again, plan your day around the flush. Don't plan the flush around your day. So 3 grams. If you don't, after 4 doses, if you're not getting that gurgling or rumbling in your GI tract, then you're going to double to 2 teaspoons every 15 minutes until you have a flush. Now, if you start at 2 teaspoons, stay at 2 teaspoons all the way through. The average person in good health is going to flush at about 24 grams. This has been my experience clinically and working with thousands and thousands of people. The average chronically sick person is going to flush anywhere between 36 and 50 grams. So we want to, and again, you may not fall exactly into either one of these categories. Everybody's flush is their own unique experience, but I'm just trying to give you kind of my experience of expectations of what I typically see. So again, good health, we'll abbreviate that, and then chronic illness. Okay, good health, start at 1 teaspoon, double to 2 teaspoons after 4 doses if there's no gurgling or rumbling. The chronic illness, 2 teaspoons every 15 minutes until your bowels flush out. Once you flush out, you're done. Now, a couple of things to understand at the end of the flush. A couple of different scenarios. Number one, you might feel really tired. And this is why I want you to plan the flush that you have the whole day. Because if you feel really tired, the best thing that you can do at this point is take a nap and sleep and rest. Okay. Number two, some people feel super energetic after a flush. Like they're ready to go run a marathon. They feel really, really, charged. I would say either way is not a wrong experience or a bad experience. It's just your experience. But those are the two kind of primary outcomes that we'll see. Somebody will feel really energetic or somebody will feel really tired. The important thing to remember the rest of the day after your flush is that you hydrate, is that you're making sure you're taking in plenty of fluids and keeping your body hydrated, because when you do a flush, we're pushing water out of you too, and that can cause dehydration. We don't want you to get dehydrated. So this is phase one, or tip or strategy one, which is the flush. And this is the best way to start, again, unless you have major hemorrhoids, ulcers, or some other contraindication. And again, those types of things we can skip step one. Hey, don't forget to check out the rest of the series right here. Make sure you hit subscribe below. And as always, thanks for tuning in.